It's time. It's finally time. That's right. It's the Sunday Spread Super Bowl edition. We've been waiting for this all year long. And we've been waiting 2 weeks for the actual Super Bowl. I don't know about y'all, but let's get this over with. My nerves. Let's get to the game, man. The game's at 6:30. 6:30, right? I kind of wish it was at 1 o'clock so I won't be anticipating it all day long. But we're ready, we're happy, and good to go. We're about to win you a lot of money on top of that, a lot of bets, a lot of funny things going on Media Week, which is always so crazy. And again, once again, this is the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM Network. That's right, we in here. Sean Bell, Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, everybody, how y'all feeling? Y'all nerves a little bit better?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
weirdly
ready.
like not I remain pretty confident and like weirdly not nervous, but I'm also not in New Orleans yet. I think maybe it's like once I get there and I feel like Sunday morning I'll wake up and be a little bit nervous or just like overwhelmed by the largeness and scale of the event that is the Super Bowl. But it does feel like it's been forever. Like the NFC Championship game feels like it was 2 months ago. So I'm ready to get this thing going.
Absolutely. My fault. My fault. I wasn't done putting on my attire. I mean, and also, Sean, you still got time, bro. You still got time. You can still go put on your Eagles. You just not gonna do it, huh? I mean, I had to go put on the rest of my gear. I had to put the rest of
There
my
you
gear on.
go.
This is what they're going to get.
Oh,
This is what they're going to get. They're going to get a Super Bowl this weekend. You know what I'm saying? This is why they play the game. So, Sean, you still got time to go put your Eagles gear on. I had to finish up my attire with my Super Bowl ring. I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? Act like you've been there. Not today. Not today. I'm talking more trash than a little bit today. In fact, I might talk more trash than even, you know, you guys, as far as, going. This is the day the Eagles made. This started back September 5th when I told everybody if Saquon Barkley wins the rushing title, the Eagles will win the Super Bowl. Not get there, win the Super Bowl. This is what it's all about. Let's go, boys. Let's go, boys. That's what I'm talking about. Birds going. Let's go.
I love
So
it.
y'all feel better. Do you like this the 2 weeks? The 2 weeks is always again, I feel like it's too long, but I understand why the NFL does it. After these 2 weeks, do y'all feel the same as you did after the NFC Championship? More confident or less confident? Because I know a lot of times for me, when I have to think about it a little bit more, all of a sudden I become less confident in things. I'm like, oh my goodness. All right, now I'm analyzing a little too much. What's the difference in feeling y'all have had over the last 2 weeks?
I
Me, I
feel
became confident.
sorry, Barrett. I don't know if you want to go or if
No, go ahead.
you
Go
want
ahead. It's always ladies
to.
first.
Okay. I feel probably a little bit more confident. I think right after the NFC Championship win, Eagles and Commanders played first in on the championship weekend. So we didn't know who we were going to face, and then as soon as the Chiefs beat the Bills right after, it was kind of like this sinking feeling of, oh no, we have to face Patrick Mahomes and the almighty Kansas City Chiefs again. But then it was kind of a, you know what? Like, let's go, because this is where the Eagles tend to thrive when they're the underdog, when they're the scrappy team that can kind of upset the big dog. They did it to the Patriots in 2018, couldn't get it done in 2022 against Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I think that 2022 experience with these 2 weeks leading into the Super Bowl, now they know the deal. They know the preparation that they need to do. They know how crazy media night is and all the media surrounding it is. They know what to do in the week leading up when they have to fly down to New Orleans or wherever the site of the Super Bowl is. Nick Sirianni, 5-1, coming off a bye with extra time to prep. He's really grown as a head coach. I think in 2022, he was out coached by Andy Reid because he'd never been in that spot before.
Da da
So
da.
all of that gives me confidence with these 2 weeks. So I feel better about this matchup as time goes on. And also, the more I look at how the Eagles match up against the Chiefs, the better I feel. I don't want to say like overconfident at all, but I think that there is a way where the Eagles can beat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
And I love the way you said that. I love how you said, you know, uh, yes, Nick was a little outmatched. His coordinators were definitely outmatched on the game. I'm talking about offense, especially defense, and also special teams. All the stuff that happened on special teams was crazy. Like in the fourth, how you gonna have a punt, kick a punt, and they get it on our side of the 50 and run it all the way back to the 5. There were certain things that happened that were supposed to happen because Kansas City at that time was more experienced, and that's why they were able to get to that point. So, in between the lines, when they're out on the field, player against player, mano a mano, the Eagles are going to whoop their tail. But it's the coaching. It's the coaching that they got to deal with. And I think right now, we got a leg up. There's a lot more confidence. I feel a lot more confident in the coordinators, number one, because I think it's a wash with the coordinators. It's definitely a wash. Because I don't think that, Matt Nagy.
Really, Barrett? We won't go
it's
wash.
It's a wash with I'm talking about the coordinators. The coordinators
it's a wash with the coordinators.
It is.
Really, Barrett. We're gonna start off with these lies.
What lie? I mean, what lie? What lie am I telling?
How can we ever say it's a wash?
Matt
It's
Nagy's
Andy
better
Reid.
than Moore? Nagy's better than Moore?
It's Andy.
No.
It's Andy Reid versus Kellen Moore.
Andy Reid didn't take over until the second half. He started calling calls in the second half. That's when you saw he had that thing in the second half, and he was like this. The second half.
And truly, it's not even Andy versus Kellen. It's Andy versus Vic. And, and Kellen Moore
Kellen Moore versus
Steve Spags. And you're not telling me Kellen Moore is better than Steve Spags. Is equal to Steve Spags. Let's be honest here.
I'm being very honest. This is why I'm being very honest about it. Spags definitely has the advantage as far as coaching that, but in between that lines, I think that's the big, that's the big, pause that they have to understand. Because he can't stop the run at the clip that they're going to run the ball. Hell, they can run the ball 40 times with Saquon Barkley because there is no tomorrow. They're not saving for anything else. He could literally get 40 runs in the Super Bowl because there is no tomorrow. So to me, I think that's a great equalizer on this game. So I'm saying coaching is not going to have as much of an effect as it did 2 years ago. It's just not.
That's fair. That is fair, but again, they have the coaching advantage. I think for me, the biggest difference is, like you said, the Eagles have better players. And again, I know y'all are firmly on the Eagles. I'm be honest with you, I haven't gone one side or the other yet. I am. This is as confused as I've been deciding a Super Bowl before. As late as I'll pick a Super Bowl before, and obviously at the end of the show, I'm going to have to make a pick. And the Eagles have the better offense and defense. The Eagles have more talent. I'm with y'all on that. But that's where I jump off the boat. The Chiefs have better coaching. And this ain't a slight against the Eagles coaches because you're in the Super Bowl. So you're a very good coach if you make the Super Bowl. But again, you're going against Spags, who has 4 Super Bowls. You're going against Andy Reid, who has 3 Super Bowls. You're going against guys who have made the most crucial plays at the crucial moments against everybody every single time. So I go back and forth with who I'm going to pick. Again, I'll pick later. But yeah, I think coaching-wise, you go, oh man, Spags. You can run. Again, James Cook ran all over the Kansas City Chiefs. And Saquon Barkley's even better. But Spags just knows, okay, it's 3rd and 6 at the 40-yard line. You move the ball 40 yards, but I know to call the one play that's going to make you punt. So you're going to get great numbers, but you're not going to score in this particular situation because Spags knows when to dial it up. So the Spags is a person I'm scared of if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles the most, just because, again, 4 Super Bowl victories as a coordinator. He just really knows how to get it. But we're going to discuss the details of
that's what I was trying to do, though, Sean. SB, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to say Spags and Fangio. That's a wash to me.
That's not a wash.
Going, defense by defense. I'm going defense by defense. Vic Fangio is the same coach as it's the same as Spags. They're on an equal level.
One has 4 Super Bowls. The other has 0. It's not a wash.
Man,
now again, the defense is phenomenal. It's a number 1 defense, but it's Spags is the better coordinator. Vic has the better talent.
No, whoa. You can't say that. Vic has an entire NFL running his defense. His defense works. So 4 Super Bowls, he just probably didn't have the talent on the teams that he was on to win 4 Super Bowls. I don't know how many he's been to.
He's lost in the Super Bowl.
But he is a
hell of a as a 49er.
Your 49ers, he took you to the Super Bowl. They just turned the lights off down there in New Orleans. That's all. Once they did that, y'all
and he lost. He's a great coordinator. He just can't get the edge over a 4-time Super Bowl winner. Devin Caney just sipping her tea or sipping her coffee, looking
I'm
at
just
us
having
like,
a good
look.
time.
No, it's normally me and Dev going back and forth at
Yeah.
this. But Dev, we're gonna get to all the details of the game, obviously, throughout the show. New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans. You're headed to New Orleans tomorrow.
Yes.
Yo, what's your first plan? You get off the plane. What you doing?
First of all, I'm so excited. I feel like I've had FOMO all week watching everything go down on Radio Row, but I do feel like I'm getting there for all the, fun parts of Super Bowl week to start. So I get in the morning. So I think I will get off the flight and go get a beignet immediately for breakfast, because my favorite thing about New Orleans is, and I love New Orleans as a city, is the food. I mean, I think if I lived there, I would gain 25 pounds within like a week.
Easy.
So I'll probably go to Cafe Du Monde. I'll power through the line. I'll enjoy the warm weather, and then the partying starts tomorrow night. Like I have a few events that I have lined up, with coworkers and some friends who are down there. So I'm excited, but it's definitely going to be a whirlwind, and I'm just excited to get back to New Orleans because it's an awesome city. Like, I think it is a top Super Bowl destination. You think back to the 2018 Super Bowl and the Eagles were in it. That was in Minneapolis. And I get like the Vikings had their new stadium. They usually give it to the team that has like the new indoor stadium, but the team was staying in the Mall of America. Like, I think New Orleans is a bit better than staying in the Mall of America.
You know what's messed up?
What's
really messed up is my Super Bowl that I was in Detroit. How bad is that game? And then the second Super Bowl that I go to, I covered, was in Minnesota with the Eagles. And then, so I've had, we did go to Arizona 2 years ago. That was all right. Yeah. But everything was spread out an hour from everything. So that was kind of hard. But this year, I finally go down to New Orleans. I'm going to go get me some alligator bites. Make sure I get alligator bites. I'll give you a call as far as all the parties. I got an event I'm going to do. Then I'm jumping right back on the plane and flying back early Saturday morning. And then, to make sure that everything happens.
Wait. So when are you going down, Barrett?
Tomorrow morning.
Are you on an Eagles flight?
No, come on now. I don't have juice like that. I don't have juice.
Wait, let me know. Let's coordinate, like, so we can hang out tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that you were going down.
I got to do an event. I got to make a little money while on Super Bowl Sunday.
They doing this right in front of my face. Like, are they continuing this? Right, I'm like I'm like the third wheel on the date, like right in front of my face. Like, they just planning their parties in front of me. Can you believe this, Kenny? Just leaving me out like this?
I didn't know. Barrett, hit me up when you're there.
Wow.
We'll coordinate.
Definitely.
I do have one thing
and she's
to say
continuing.
about
It's just the two Eagles. Like,
no, it's a funny anecdote about. So my broadcast crew for the Eagles, who I'm traveling with, like, they used to go down, because this is now their fourth Super Bowl that they've covered. Because like the rest of the crew has been doing it for decades. And
the Jacksonville Super Bowl, yeah, that's right.
They used to go down for the full week, like when the team, like the players fly down on Sunday. And the last time they did that was in Minnesota, where they went down and you stay in the team hotel. Both AFC, NFC were staying in the Mall of America. It was 0 degrees out. And they were like, we were so bored all week because the only thing to do was to walk around the Mall of America. But now I'm like, well, now we're in New Orleans and you guys are messing up my plans because we have to go down so late. But better late than never. I'll take it.
With that said, where is New Orleans in spots for the Super Bowl? Like, where would you rank it? If again,
I think
a lot of
it's
people
got to
put
be
New Orleans
top 3.
Okay.
I think it's got to be top 3, but I also know a lot of people, like, I love New Orleans as a city. I also know some people don't like New Orleans as a city. Like, I know people who are going down in media who have been kind of dreading it because they don't like it. So I think it just depends, but I think it's a top 3 spot.
Name the other 2. If you could pick.
Honestly, New Orleans might be my, like, number 1 spot, because it has just like the energy, the celebrations, especially with Mardi Gras, around the same time. But it also has culture. So 2, I'd probably say Miami. No, 2, I'd say
Cool.
Vegas. 3, I'd say Miami.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
yeah,
think it should
yeah.
be a warm weather place, like a warm weather location.
Of
Yeah,
course.
you got to
Of
get
course.
past that Mason-Dixie line. You got to get past that Mason-Dixie. Other than that, it's tough. You don't want to go anywhere. I mean, it was 2 foot of snow in my Super Bowl. Nobody wanted to go out in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why we were so focused in that game. We were in Pontiac, at a hotel in
Yeah.
Pontiac. It was a nice hotel, but still Pontiac, the Yak. I played for the Detroit Lions, and I didn't like the Yak, and that's where we played at. And we
Yeah.
practiced in the Silver Dome.
I'm
Come on,
surprised.
man.
I'm surprised nothing has popped up with any player partying so far. But we still got some time. So, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Listen, we're gonna come back on the Sunday spread. We'll finish this conversation, but we got to get to props, QB props, running back props. Who do we think is going to do what, and who we think is going to win the matchup between the quarterbacks, between the running backs? We'll break it down in detail coming up on the Sunday spread. Welcome back to the Sunday spread. Once again, Sean Bell, Barry Brooks, Devin Caney, presented by the BetMGM Network. Let's wrap up our conversation before. Barrett, I didn't get your thought process. What will be your top 3 Super Bowl spots?
Number one, I would have to say it would have to be Miami for me. Well, in my younger days, it would have been Miami. So much to do, too much to do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, then I would have to say California, especially in that old stadium. You know what I mean? That just being in that environment. What is that? They had the Rose Bowl in it, the Rose Bowl Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great Super Bowl there. I went to the Super Bowl. It was your 49ers beat the heck out of the Chargers in that stadium. So I know you like that. And then number 3, I think number 3, New Orleans will have to be number 3. Definitely number 3. But you know what? A Super Bowl that I did like that was up the Mason-Dixie line that was in New York. That was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I really like New York because it was, first of all, it was right up the road. That's number 1. But number 2, it was just
Okay, so for
it was a great
convenience.
environment. Huh? What did you say?
So for
I
convenience.
Yeah, I mean convenience, but also there was so much. Even though it was cold, it was so much to do. So many places that after hour was just amazing, amazing. I went to this one spot. It was great because it was a sushi bar / club. I mean, what other? That's the best mix you can go. It's a club in which you go eat sushi and go party and have drinks, all in one spot. I mean, you couldn't get a better world than that. It was amazing.
Yeah, but you
I
can do that whenever you want, like you don't. I feel like that doesn't make it special. Sean, what are your top 3?
New Orleans, Miami, and I would put New York in there also.
No love for Vegas. The more I think about it, the more I actually kind of would put Vegas 1.
I've never been to Vegas.
What?
I've never been.
You've never been to Vegas?
That's crazy.
I've never had the desire to go. I guess I should go at some point to experience, but I've never had the desire to go to Vegas.
We need to plan a trip. The 3 of us going.
Yeah.
Well, the 5 of us going. Dylan, you going too. Kenny, you going too. Those are our producers. They're going too. Let's plan a trip to Vegas.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen.
I probably go broke quick too. So I don't know if I should go, but yeah, I've never been to Vegas, so that's why. And then New York, I like when things are in a central location and you ain't got to drive an hour this way, 45 minutes this way, like to hit all the festivals.
Well, Arizona was bad.
Vegas would be like that. I assume it was like that last year, where everything's just like on the strip, so you don't have to drive an hour this way and that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I can't comment on that because I don't know. Like, I know everywhere else in the South, it's like, all right, Houston, Arizona, even Cali to a certain extent. It's like, yo, I got to drive 45 minutes. I got to drive an hour to this location, to that location. I want everything like New Orleans, everything going to be in this spot. I could quick Uber or walk to any location I need to. I know New York isn't like that, but again, being that I'm from basically up there, I know the trains and all that other stuff, so I can get to any spot quick. that way, even though obviously they actually played the game in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So it's just things are quick and easy. That's what I care about, things being quick and easy and me not having to travel far away from my hotel room all the time. So that's the first thing I think about when I think of any vacation or any location. And the South drives me crazy because Houston and all these places are, you take forever to get anywhere. Let's get into the actual bets. Again, we want to get into props, right? We're going to go through props throughout the show. And now it's QB comparisons. Before we even get to the props, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. There's been a lot of conversation about the comparison between the two, their first 5 years between the two. Is Jalen Hurts playing up to Patrick Mahomes' level? He sort of outplayed him in the first Super Bowl. Talk about the quarterback comparisons before we get to the props. Barrett, I'll start with you.
Well, at this point, there is no comparison as far as right now. Patrick Mahomes right now is the GOAT. I mean, once Brady retired, he became the best quarterback in the league. So in order for me to be an analyst and really give you guys the truth, I got to say that. You know what I'm saying? He's the GOAT. But 2 years ago in that Super Bowl, Jalen outplayed him statistically. But, I mean, Jalen's made, two crucial mistakes. And those two crucial mistakes, I think, lost the game for him. They only won by 3. Can't say only won by 3. And just thinking about those crucial mistakes, that fumble, I mean, it was like he just dropped the ball, and Bolton took it in for a touchdown. That right there, to me, really sealed the game. That and the punt really sealed the game for the Eagles. They were winning by 10 going into halftime, and then turn around in the second half. You got to be winning by 10 in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, if you're winning by 10, you got a great chance of winning the game. A great chance of winning the game. With this defense, you got a great chance of winning the game. But anything less than 10, if it's 7, if it's 8, it's going to be hard beating this Kansas City Chiefs team. But Jalen Hurts can do it. He has the weapons to do it. And we see now, when called upon, he can execute. But there's no comparison to quarterback. It's just what's the flavor of the month you want. You know what I mean? And orchestrating an offense, I can't say that there's anybody can do that more effectively than what Jalen is doing right now. Even Patrick Mahomes, in running the offense that's given to him. What makes, Patrick Mahomes so great is he's able to go out there, he can execute the offense, but the stuff he does, frenetically is what makes him great. The connection he has with Kelsey, the understanding that he's going to find that soft spot in the zone, he's going to keep running, and he's going to basketball, post up, who's ever on him in man-to-man, he can get the ball to him. Those are the things that, he does great. You just got to pick, in the big moments. Can Jalen step up like he did last time? I think he can.
Devin, quarterback comparison. Again, we'll get to the props in a minute. What's your thought process between these two?
I mean, I think it's kind of silly that this is an ongoing debate, the comparison, because Patrick Mahomes is going for his 3rd straight Super Bowl. He's probably already about to surpass Tom Brady, in regards to the ultimate NFL GOAT, at least of the modern era. So you have to give him respect where respect is due. That being said, you also have to give credit to Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Mahomes, but Hurts, I feel like, especially when talked about with Mahomes, is we talk about him like he's some 3rd string quarterback who hasn't done anything. This is Jalen Hurts' 2nd Super Bowl in 3 seasons. And no, he didn't win the last time, but he still had a better performance overall than Mahomes. So I think that credit has to be given where credit is due. And an interesting debate that came up on a WIP show I was hosting last night was, if you were an NFL GM and you were offered the Chiefs total roster or the Eagles total roster, including the quarterbacks, who would you take? And my co-host immediately said the Chiefs, simply because they have Mahomes at quarterback. I totally disagree with that. I think that even though Jalen Hurts might not be, the GOAT yet, he has the better roster around him. And I'm so sick of the debate or the argument like, well, he's a super team around him. And the same goes for, when we're debating Nick Sirianni. Yeah. A quarterback needs good players around them in order to be good. I think it's impressive what guys like Josh Allen, what even Patrick Mahomes has done this season without talent like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, the list goes on. But overall, I mean, the Eagles have the better roster, and that gives me hope for them in this game against the Chiefs. But my point is, I think Jalen Hurts is set up better for success as a quarterback, even though Mahomes, I know it's like he can pull it out, he can, create magic and pull wins out of his hat, and you can never count him out. Like, I understand that. But I also just think that more credit has to be given to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles roster as a whole. Mahomes is one person. If his receivers, if his tight ends, if his running backs don't come through, it's going to be a long day for him against that Eagles defense.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what?
they have more. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. Why is it that people want to take points off of what Jalen is doing? Because the roster, it's not his fault that his GM is better than the GM, that's in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? Howie Roseman is better than Veach.
Let's slow down there too. Their GM
He's better than Veach.
The GM has 3 Super Bowls.
With the players with Patty Mahomes.
Well, he had to get Pat Mahomes and get them players. So I don't know. I think we go over the top. I'm gonna name one person. Y'all know who it is. ESP. Right? So when ESP comes on the air and says, well, Jalen Hurts is just as good as Pat because they've had the same, maybe he didn't say just as good.
Well, no.
He compared their first 5 years.
Defense, he's the one who brought up that point, that talking point that I just said. And he was on the other side of it. He was saying that he would take the Chiefs simply because of Mahomes. And I disagreed with him.
Well, he also said, if you look at their first 5 seasons, what's the difference? And that's when we go, all right, like you compared Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and said they're on the same level because their first 5 seasons statistically look sort of similar. And everybody who watches games know better than that. And that's what I think people go. That's what I said before and last week of everyone wants to go elite or trash in today's society, right? A movie was elite or a movie was trash. Jalen Hurts ain't Pat Mahomes, but like y'all said, he ain't trash. He's a really good quarterback. And when I look at this quarterback comparison, again, Barry, you asked me and I thought about it a little bit more last week, trying to define elite. And I think what makes Pat Mahomes elite or whoever you call elite is the ability to be great game in, game out consistently. Right. And no one's done it more consistently than Pat Mahomes in this league. That's what makes him elite. Jalen Hurts has had some moments where he wasn't able to do that. But again, he also has moments where he can look like Pat Mahomes. And so I have confidence in clutch moments that he can be elite in the Super Bowl, that he can be elite in these big time moments, but he doesn't do it consistently like Pat Mahomes. He does do it consistently like in comparison to, the others, but not like maybe a Pat Mahomes. And Lamar Jackson just has to be that. They haven't built a roster around him where he doesn't have to be that game in and game out, which is precisely why he doesn't have a Super Bowl or hasn't been to the Super Bowl because they haven't built that type of Jalen Hurts roster around him. So, I mean, the quarterback comparison, again, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. He has all the hardware, and Jalen Hurts is trying to get there. With that said, let's go to some of the quarterback props and how we think this game is going to go. Like y'all said, Jalen Hurts had more yards, more touchdowns, did more things than Pat Mahomes in the last Super Bowl. Let's look at this Super Bowl because, again, both guys are playing a little bit differently, right? Like Jalen Hurts isn't having as an explosive year as he did last time these two have played, but neither is Patrick Mahomes. So let's look at Pat Mahomes props first. 250.5 over under. Do you think Vic Fangio is going to shut him down?
Yes.
Okay, Dev, you start.
He's not. I think his average for the season this year has been 245. So it's been slightly under that. And the Eagles' pass defense is the best in the league. You look at the Chiefs' receiving options, like there's no one that stands out as an explosive play option. And I think he can dink and dunk and, get to that 250.5 number, but I just don't see the Eagles defense allowing that to happen.
And I think that's
250.5, you going under also?
I am going under, and it's not necessarily because of what he can't do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Patty Mahomes can't do anything, but what I'm saying is I'm going under because I like what the defense can do. This will be the fastest defense he faces all year. This is the number one defense. And what makes them unique, they understand they're so assignment correct. They're disciplined in their drops, in the passing situations. They know what to do. And those young guys don't make mistakes. They don't make many mistakes. That defense don't make mistakes. It's rarely that you catch them, outside of where they're supposed to be at. And that's where Patty Mahomes, that's where he sticks it at you. You know what I'm saying? That's where he gets you. He puts you in a position where you forget a responsibility thinking about you need to go get him instead of staying with your responsibility. And I think this defense, and Vic Fangio has them disciplined enough that they don't make those type of mistakes. So, he's going to throw it away. You know what I'm saying? We're not even talking about the refs, but he's going to have to throw it away a lot this game because guys just aren't going to be over. And he does have now pass rushers that he can't just run away from like he did in last week's game. He made that Bills defense look old. He's not going to be able to do it against them. Probably, I think this may be the youngest defense in the league as far as per starter this year. They may be the youngest. So these are fast, hungry defenders that are going to play assignment correct and force him in the pocket and force him to make, those decisions to, all right, I got to throw it away or I got to take a sack. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference. He's not really going to make mistakes. He barely makes mistakes, but they will force him to take, what's there. And what's there won't be enough for them to keep a drive going. And that's where I stick with Patrick Mahomes and why he'll go with the under. They're going to force him to go where the ball needs to go. And he'll get it to him, but it just won't be enough to keep the sticks moving and keep him on the field to fulfill over 250 yards.
I think Sean might be muted.
I thought I had said something to just drop Mike.
No hater takes. Oh well. Barrett,
Yeah,
let's talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
how great the Eagles are and how much the
Yeah,
49ers
here we go.
stink.
That's what it should
Wait,
be right now
Sean.
anyway.
Oh, how awesome was it seeing Deebo Samuel in a Eagles Kelly Green jersey? Also
Yeah,
looking
out there.
like he's enjoying his time off with food.
Oh, yeah, he looked like he should play fullback now. You know what I mean? He had AJ's jersey on looking like a fullback. He is definitely enjoying the fruits of his labor. He keep on doing
He
that, he's gonna be
certainly
a
is.
3-10.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get Sean's mic back after the break, but we are going to take a little break. Stick around. Sunday Spread on BetMGM Network. Coming back.
And I'm back. Something happened with the sound. That's technical difficulties. That's what happens when you at home and the kids ain't got no school because they cancel because of snow, but the snow doesn't actually come, and now you're annoyed because you can hear your kids crying downstairs, but yet you still gotta work. Yeah, that's the type of day I'm having. What's up, everybody? Again, the Sunday Spread. Devin, first of all, it's more about how y'all feel about Deebo Samuels. We're going to pick up right back there. I'll get back to Patrick Mahomes. How do y'all feel about Deebo Samuels wearing an A.J. Brown jersey? Because y'all the one that hate the man. But apparently he don't hate y'all that much. I'm guessing he's actually rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl because his boy is A.J. Brown.
That and
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's the
I think he is too because he is like a little gripe, and honestly, like understandably so, with the Chiefs. I think he said, I
yeah.
forget when he said it on a show or when he was talking on something, and he was like, "Yeah, go Birds." I think a lot of people are rooting for the Eagles because everyone's just sick of the Chiefs winning.
Yeah, it's that Chiefs exhaustion. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's the hate that comes with you being the best team in the NFL for the last 2 years.
And the funny thing about it is, like, Deebo, the only thing he didn't like about the Philadelphia Eagles was James Bradbury. You know what I mean? Like, and y'all don't even like him anymore. So it's kind of like, okay, we'll put this beef on pause for a little bit because the guy I hate, y'all don't really want on y'all team anymore either.
Right. He just call a man trash. And ever since he said that, been trash.
That's true.
I'll just yeah, exactly. I'll just give my Pat Mahomes. Like, Vegas is so good because I have him anywhere between 240 and 265, right? Like, That seems to be the number that Pat Mahomes is likely going to get to. He had 245 against the Bills. So I don't know, but I think he's going to have around that number. I'll go the under just because he had 245 against the Buffalo Bills, and I feel like that's around what I would pick for him. But again, I think it's going to be one of those where whoever's betting it is going to be very annoyed because it's going to be very close. Whether they win or lose, I think that's going to be the number that's he's going to be around. But again, that's what Vegas does. So with that said, let's get to Jalen Hurts. Right, he has a bunch of props, but let's go with his yardage first. 212.5 passing yards, over or under?
Wow, that's tough.
I'm guessing I'll go first. Over under, I actually think over because 212 just not a high number, and I understand Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown the ball a ton this season because they've really relied heavily on what's working for them, and that's their ground game and their rushing attack with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. But 212.5 just not a really high number, and I think that Spags-led Chiefs defense, I'm not saying they're going to shut Saquon Barkley down because we've seen better defenses in the NFL try and fail to contain Saquon Barkley. But I also think they're going to give Jalen different looks. That's going to force him to get the ball in the air a little bit more. And I also just think, game design by Kellen Moore, by Nick Sirianni, is going to be to kind of get the ball spread around more. So it's not all just going to Saquon. And because of that, like I could see, I think Dallas Goedert is going to have a big game. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, of course. You said he's feeling a lot healthier now, actually, than he was, at the start of the postseason. So I like that number just because it's not super high and we're playing indoors. Weather won't be a factor. So I think he can hit over 212.5 passing yards.
What you think?
I'm gonna go with the under, but still to the same. I can see basically out of the three guys, Smitty, Brown, and Goddard, all three of them having over 150 yards. Having over 50 yards for 150 yards total. And then after that, one of those two guys, two of those three guys will probably have right around like the same game, might have 80, 85, and the other guy has 65, another guy have, right there, at 50 or even 45. I think that's what happened in the last game was I think AJ had like 89, and then Dallas Goedert had 85, and then Smitty had 45. And with that mixture right there, it looked like he had a great passing day, and he did, but it still was around about that 200, 190, right around that area right there. So even with those numbers and those three guys, I'm still going to go with the under simply because you go with what got you there. You know what I'm saying? It's KISS. It's the KISS technique. Keep it simple, stupid. You've been running the ball. You've been showing dominance. Why change it up? Why reinvent the wheel when you know it works for you? I said, you can run him 40 times, and he has a whole offseason to heal and get back to it for the next year. And I think Saquon Barkley wants it so much that he's willing to do that. That offensive line is willing to open up holes. And that's the biggest thing. That's their culture. That's how they do things. They want to go out there and beat guys up. And I think that formula just works, it's to me, it's great. I want to go ahead and just say, yes, they're going to have, he's going to have 250 yards. He's going to throw for 2 or 3 touchdowns. You want your quarterback because those are like elite numbers, because we still haven't defined what elite is, SB. But those are elite like type of numbers, 300 yards, just throwing it out there. Those are all great, but if you're not winning, it doesn't make a difference. Ask Cincinnati Bengals.
Here's the thing. Devin gave us a stat last week about when you guys win, the numbers that Jalen Hurts have. I forgot what it was, Devin, but it was something like when Jalen Hurts throws for over 200 yards that you guys lose the game. If he throws for under 200 yards, you guys win the game. So with that said, I'm going under. Right? Because it's just there's a certain formula for you guys to win, and it's not the formula of him throwing for 250, 260 yards. You lose those type of games. Even when I look back into the season, and this is why Jalen Hurts gets some knock, is when he was throwing for a lot of yards. He threw for 300 yards. He threw for 287 yards in the first 4 games. They lost, right? When he had to throw for a lot of yards, when that was the game plan, they lost those. Well, there were 2-2 in the first 4. And Jalen Hurts had 7 turnovers in those games. So you don't want to have that type of performance from Jalen Hurts. You prefer to have a balanced performance where he throws for 200 but runs for 50 and has those type of games. So that's when Jalen Hurts is at their, well, at least that's when the Eagles are at their best, and that's when they win. So that's my guess for that. I'll go with the under on this one. So with that said, that transitions to the running game. 36.5 is the over-under for Jalen Hurts running the ball. Dev, I'll start with you. 36.5. Does he go over or under that mark?
Oh, over. I love this prop, and I also love a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown prop. The Chiefs' 5th most rushing touchdowns allowed to the quarterback position, 5th most rushing attempts, and 7th most rushing yards to quarterbacks. So Jalen Hurts, I think, is going to have to, use one of his strengths, and that's what he can do on the ground. I just want to go back really quickly to the passing yards number, because I just found a stat, and I apologize for not bringing this up earlier. Jalen Hurts has averaged over 280 pass yards per game in his 3 career starts versus Kansas City. The only opponent he's faced 3 or more times that he has over 250 pass yards against. So interesting stat,
Wow.
but like the one I read last week, I mean, stick to what you know. Keep it simple, stupid, like Barrett says. I think you do a little bit of both. You don't solely rely on the run, but I think that is going to be the way the Eagles win this one, because that's how they've been winning all season long. So I love Jalen Hurts over 36.5 rush yards.
Okay. That's what are the records in those games? I think it's 1-2 against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think it's 1 and
in
2.
those 3 games. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett, 36.5 for Jalen Hurts running the rock. What you think?
I'm going with the over there. And I just asked our producer, Kenny, do you think that Jalen in this huge, stage kind of calls his number too much to show that he's the better quarterback, even as far as running the rock, saying that on the read option, knowing that, he's supposed to hand the ball off, he takes it himself, and, it's almost like a tackle for loss, because he should have gave it to him, but he wants to stand up and, do all that stuff. Is he going to have that type of mindset, or he's just going to go and just run the offense? And I'm having it hard in my mind to really see if he'll do that. I don't know. You know what I mean? But he'll definitely go over that. But I'm thinking he might have around 70 yards.
Yeah, I think for any chance for the Eagles to win, he has to go over that. I think the biggest thing I was screaming at the beginning of the season was, where's your wheels, Jalen Hurts? He wasn't using his wheels. He wasn't running. And I know he was being safer, but he's not a dynamic quarterback if that's not a threat. That has to be a threat. When he uses that as a threat, when he runs for a touchdown, when he has 30-yard bursts, then the team is a real threat to win any game that they're in. But when that's not a threat, when he's just a one-dimensional quarterback, they're not going to win the game. So I think even if they lose, if they want to score points and compete with the Kansas City Chiefs, he has to have the running game as a threat, and he has to be able to run for over 36.5 yards. So we're all on that prop. Again, that's probably going to be our guarantee for the day that we're all going to agree on, is over 36.5 for the running game for Jalen Hurts. Next, we're going to get to Saquon. We're going to get to the actual running game. We're going to get to all the guys. Saquon is set to have a record. Most rushing yards in a season by any player ever. And he missed the game at that. So we're going to talk about Saquon's rushing props. We're going to talk about Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt rushing props. And we'll get to the wideouts. We'll get to all the weapons and give you all our best props coming up on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread, presented by the BetMGM Network. Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney with you. Let's get to the running backs and let's get to Saquon. And we're not even going to start with the yards. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to start with the touchdowns, because that's been the dilemma all year long for us. Is Saquon Barkley touchdown? Will the tush push rob us? Because he's robbed me of several parlays this year because of the tush push. All right. So Saquon Barkley, an anytime touchdown. How are y'all feeling about that? How are you feeling about Saquon potentially having 2 touchdowns? Again, a Saquon anytime touchdown is minus 190. 2 touchdowns is plus 260. Are you biting at either one? Barrett, I'll start with you.
In order for him and the Eagles to win this game, he has to have 2 touchdowns. He has to be that type of player. And even though it has to be from the red zone out, you know what I mean, for him to give it to him, or else they're going to go with the tush push, I'm still going to go with 2 touchdowns for him, simply because he's that dynamic. I mean, you can hold him, and one thing that, more the offensive coordinator does, he sticks with the run. A lot of teams would, shy away from it, but he knows where his bread is buttered. So when he calls plays specifically to make sure Saquon will have the ability to get a long run, a game-changing run. So I'm gonna go 2 touchdowns, easy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what the numbers are for that, but I'm telling you the truth. He needs to have 2 touchdowns or more in this game. Give me a hat trick. Go even 3. But he has to be the best player on the field for the Eagles to be effective. Not just on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball, because he helps those guys too by keeping the other opposing quarterback off the field. But he has to have an amazing game. I mean, he's going to have well over 100 yards, and it'll probably be the first time, the second time. I think last week, didn't the Bills have a 100-yard rusher? Cook was a 100-yard
I think
rusher.
it was like 80
I'm not-
something.
No, it was
Okay, well,
86.
he will be. I think he'll be the first one this year that has over 100 yards on this Kansas City defense.
Devin, what you think? Again, it's plus 260 for 2 touchdowns. Always tough because of the tush push. What do you think, Dev?
Yeah, the two touchdowns is always tough, but I mean, it's kind of insane that, Barkley, we've seen him do that time and time again, and we've seen him go off and hit these home run runs. Kansas City has the number 2 defense against running backs. They're holding running backs to under 4 yards per carry, but they did let James Cook get over 80 rush yards last week or 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship game. This one's tough because I think in order for the Eagles to win, they need to stick with what they know, like we've been discussing, and Saquon Barkley should have a big game. So I do like the number of, getting a little bit over 100 yards on the ground, because we've seen him get over that. And that's almost on the lower end compared to what Barkley's been doing so far this season. But for 2+ touchdowns, I'm not sure, just because like you mentioned, Sean, you never know if he's going to get taken down, at the 1 yard line, and then they end up pushing it in, or it falls a little bit short and they end up, tossing it to Dallas Goedert or AJ Brown instead. So I don't know about the 2 touchdowns, but I do like the over 100 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley, or sorry, what's the number right now? 109.5 rushing yards. Yes. Give me that all day. And
Okay,
anytime touchdown. I think I like anytime touchdown, but I know the odds aren't great because it's like Derrick Henry level, like minus 190. So if you want to parlay that with like a Jalen Hurts anytime TD as well, I think that's a safer bet.
Yeah, Barrett's on a 2+. Again, I'm too nervous with the tush push to go with the 2+. I think Saquon Barkley will have a good game, but the anytime is money. I'll do that on a parlay because it's minus 190. I'm not doing that straight up, obviously. And even 2+ touchdowns, that's usually plus 500. But again, it's Saquon Barkley, and we know what he does. But I'm going to go with just the anytime touchdown. Let's get to the 100 yards. It's 109.5. And it's interesting because the Kansas City Chiefs haven't let up a 100-yard rusher in the playoffs. And I don't think they've let up a 100-yard rusher in the playoffs for this entire stretch run of three Super Bowl appearances. So it would be a first for them. And again, Saquon needs to have that type of game. But this is what Kansas City does. I know everyone's saying no one can stop Saquon Barkley, and I don't think anyone can stop Saquon Barkley. But I do think it's going to be a tougher challenge running the ball than it has been all year long, just simply because Kansas City is better at it. So 109.5 is the number. Dev, you said over 100. You're going over 109.5 also?
Yeah, because for what Saquon Barkley has done, on a regular basis throughout the season and postseason, 109.5 is almost like low for him. So I feel like it's like when you have to convert currency, right? Like I think Saquon Barkley getting 110 rush yards is almost equivalent to like any other running back getting over 50 yards on the ground. So I like that. I would take it.
Barrett, would you take over 109.5?
Yeah, I would go with the over on that. You know, he's just that workhorse. You gotta ride him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it we used to play around with the bell cow back name, you know, for the previous 5 years, with the guys they had here. No, he's more than a bell cow back. He's that guy that you have to get him going, and they understand they have to get him going. So 109 to me just seems way too low for a team that's has the biggest offensive line in the NFL. I mean, each side weighs over 700 pounds, and just from inertia alone, driving down on defensive line. I don't care. I mean, Jones is he's probably the top 3 technique in the league. Even before Carter, and but he plays everywhere on the field, and we know Stoutland always has a way of literally just taking away your best player. Look, he's done it with Parsons. The last 8 times that we've played him, he's made him ineffective. So they know how to really go out there and game plan on how to block Jones. If you block him, you win the game, period. But Saquon, he's such a student of the game and understands where he is and the dynamics of the whole machine that he's running right now. I really think he's going to have to get over 109 yards. So I think that's an easy bet. That's an easy bet. 2 touchdowns is also, to me, an easy bet for this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over 109.5 also, and an anytime touchdown. Again, Barrett, you're more brave than I am. I'm too much of a punk to try 2+ touchdowns, but I do think and I don't think he has a monstrous game. Well, in Saquon versions, I don't think he has a monstrous 190 because I think Kansas City's defense is too good about that. But I can see him having 120 and a touchdown in this game. With that said, let's just go real quick to the Kansas City running backs. Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, I'll give you their numbers and I'll ask you if you'll take any of those. Kareem Hunt over under rushing yards 43.5. His anytime touchdown is plus 150. Isaiah Pacheco over under 21.5 rushing yards. Anytime touchdown plus 360. Would you guys bite on any of those? Dev, I'll start with you.
I mean, they're pretty low numbers. The Kansas City rush attack has been just super underwhelming this season. And I know Isaiah Pacheco was injured for most of the season, but like having nowhere near the season that he had last year. 21.5 is a low number, but I still don't see him hitting that. I mean, the Eagles defense has just been very good. I know that they've let up some yards on the ground, but Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is almost become like the secondary back for the Chiefs because Kareem Hunt has really stepped in while Pacheco was out with injury. So I like Kareem Hunt over 43.5 rush yards more than I like Pacheco getting over 21.5 rush yards. I don't really love either for an anytime touchdown. I think if the Chiefs score, it'll be through the air or it'll be Mahomes running it
in. Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the head. I think that they really believe more in Kareem Hunt, especially in the red zone. They flip-flop in. And I just think, not to slight Pacheco, but he's a big mind in a small body, meaning his mind is saying he's 245 pounds running back, running, and he runs so hard, you know what I'm saying, and with so much ferocity, but he just doesn't have enough ass to really back it up. I mean, they're going to be tattooing him, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard trying to get past, even though, Humphreys is one of the best centers in the league. In fact, that's something nobody's talking about. The 2 best centers in the NFL are playing in this game. Cam and Humphreys, they're the 2 best centers. But still, can a guy like, Humphreys move Davis? Davis is playing on an all-star level now. These last 3 or 4 games, he has been balling. And I really think that, Pacheco, he's not a guy now that can cut. With his injury, he's not that, that guy that's going to go you any wiggle or nothing like that. He's running straight ahead, 1 step cut, and he's going straight forward. And I really think that the Eagles defense has something for him. So even with 21 being so low, I still would say, nah, he's not going to get it. 21, was it 21.5?
Yeah, 21
I don't think they get it. But I do think that they love. I mean, they absolutely love, the fact that they can run the rock. With Hunt, and he came back, so they really really love him. So Hunt and the way he runs the rock, he's their red zone threat. I think that they're gonna rely more on him. So he might get upwards of
Mhm.
45, 50 yards. But he would be the one of the two that I would say would go with the other, the
Yeah,
over. I would say
I'm
Pacheco
gonna
would be.
go. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt over 43 and a half and an anytime touchdown. Again, if you look at the Eagles, not the Commanders, but if you look at the games before that, Kyron Williams had over 100 yards. And who did they play the week before that? Josh Jacob had 81 yards. So, they're susceptible to have some type of running game. And again, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to try to play ball control football to keep Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts off the field. And I think they'll rely on the running game. I don't think they'll abandon the running game. So I think Kareem Hunt can get over 43 and a half and have a decent game, because some running backs have had decent games against the Eagles in the past couple of games in the playoffs. So let's get to some wide receiver props. I'm gonna just throw out some props to y'all and see what y'all like. Y'all got the props in front of y'all faces, so y'all can sort of also tell me that AJ Brown over 70 and a half yards, anytime touchdown plus 175. Devontae Smith's number is 50 and a half receiving yards and an anytime touchdown plus 230. Those are the two big dogs. And the other big dog for the Eagles, Dallas Goedert, over 50 and a half receiving yards. We'll start with the Eagles receivers. Do you like any of their props? AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Let's start with you, Barrett Brooks.
I'm gonna go yes with the over with Dallas Goddard. Surprised that even is 50 and over 50. And Smitty. I think they're gonna try to one-on-one with Smitty and double team and slide and bracket AJ. And when you do that, that's when Smitty really steps up. And we know Dallas Goddard being healthy. He's been the best receiver they've had in the playoffs. So you're looking at how they're running this offense. A tight end is always a quarterback's best friend. You look at the other side of the ball, same thing with Patrick Mahomes. But I mean, Dallas Goddard, when he gets the ball, he gets that yak too. So I think he'll be pivotal in the passing game more so than even probably the receivers. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't cover them all. You can't cover them all. And I think he's the guy. They have a lot. What's their linebackers name? Tranquil and Bolton. Two really good linebackers, but I doubt seriously they will be able to cover the likes of Dallas Goddard in that secondary, especially in the middle of those hashes. So I'm going with the Dallas Goddard, over his stats over AJ and Smitty. Out of those two, I would go with the over with Smitty before I go with AJ.
Okay. Okay. What do you like, Devin?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard because like 70 and a half for AJ Brown, I would look at that earlier in the season even and say absolutely. But it's crazy that that seems a little high just given how much, action I think Saquon Barkley is going to get. And I agree with Barrett. Dallas Goddard is a player to watch in this one. I like him for an anytime touchdown as well, prop wise, because the Chiefs, I've said it on the show week after week, I feel, and no one really talks about the Chiefs defense against the tight end position. Like consistently all regular season and postseason, they've been giving up the most receiving yards, the most targets, and they're bottom five for touchdowns allowed to the tight end position. And Dallas Goddard has been having an insane postseason run. So I definitely like him getting a ton of action. I could see Devontae Smith having a sneaky big game, just given that AJ Brown is typically, the number one receiving option who's locked down and has the best cornerback on him, covering him. I'm assuming that'll be McDuffie or whoever the Chiefs decide to Spags tries to contain him. So I like Dallas Goddard props a lot. 70 is a bit high for me for AJ Brown, but I do like AJ getting action, and I don't want to take that away from him, but I just don't know if I see him getting 70 because I think Jalen's going to try to spread the ball around more.
Yeah, and I'm with you again. And AJ Brown's going to have a Pro Bowl, All Pro cornerback on him in McDuffie, right? So,
Mhm.
and again, he's AJ Brown, so he's going to get the coverage rolled his way. They're going to help McDuffie out on that coverage. So again, that's the main thing. And Spags knows how to take away your number one target. So I don't feel great about AJ Brown, but I feel great about Devontae Smith. Just again, I believe he's had 3 games against Kansas City and it's been 20 catches for over 300 yards. So he's had good. The secondary option for the secondary option for the Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs has worked out for him. So I think Devontae Smith works out. I actually don't like Dallas Goedert, right? I actually think he gets around that because they've been paying attention to Dallas Goedert. I think he gets around 45, but 50 is a little bit high for me. So I'm going to sort of ignore that. All right, when we come back, we're going to get to the Kansas City Chief props, their wide receiver props. Again, they don't have any big number guys, but they figure out a way to win. So we'll see if you like any of those wide receiver props, and then we'll move on to the funny stuff. The color of the Gatorade, the national anthem. Will Kendrick Lamar do A minor like he did at the Grammys? Does he do that at the Super Bowl? He probably will. We'll talk about that coming up on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread, once again presented and on the BetMGM network. Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney, Sean Bell. Before we get to the odd, funny Super Bowl props, let's get to the Kansas City weapons props. And again, they don't have anybody who actually has real explosive games. Let's start with Xavier Worthy. He's emerged as their top tier tight end, 54.5 receiving yards, anytime touchdown, plus 155. Do you guys think he breaks out at all? Start with you, Devin.
No. And this is what gives me, the hope for the Eagles playing the Chiefs is just how great the Eagles defense, especially their pass defense, has been all season long under Vic Fangio, and with, these young rookies who came in and didn't miss a beat. Xavier Worthy, like you mentioned, Sean, like it's just a really big head scratcher when you look at the Chiefs offense because no one really goes off for these explosive games. I genuinely forgot that DeAndre Hopkins was on the Chiefs until I saw some post including him like last week. And I'm like, oh my God, was he injured or something? Like, no, I guess hasn't been playing well. Hasn't been getting a ton of action. But Xavier Worthy, I guess, would be their most dangerous option. And even he didn't really have a ton of yards against the Bills defense last week. So no, I just don't see a way where he gets more than, even if it's not a super high number, 54.5 receiving yards. We've seen Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay, CJ Gardner, list goes on. We've seen them hold some of the best receivers in the National Football League to minimal yards. We've seen them lock down Jamar Chase. We've seen them lock down Terry McLaurin. We've seen them lock down the best players in the league. And I'm sorry, but Xavier Worthy just doesn't really qualify for the same category of elite to me. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Barrett, are you worried about that deep threat?
Not deep threat. What they use Xavier Worthy for now is a lot of gadget plays. They like to run him on, they do that little circle motion. He's that guy that they use, to try to create a matchup and, move him around a lot. And I say the only way he does is probably, slop receiving yards at the end of the game where Kansas City's trying to get up and try to cover that, 10 points that the Eagles are up on. That would be the only way that he really goes out. He could be a factor in this game. But they do like to use him on gadget plays. So, he might have more rushing yards than he has receiving yards. So at this point, I don't see him. He's the fastest player in the NFL. He's the fastest player ever in the NFL. Ever. He ran faster than Deion as far as recorded. That's what they said last year. He's a rookie, but this might be too big for him, and they might be putting a little too much on him, on his plate. So, I can't see him being a guy to go out there and make a major difference or be a major factor. Even though they're going to try to game plan to be him, for him to be the weapon for the team.
See, I like it. I like 50. He had 85 yards and a touchdown against the Buffalo Bills, and it's not going to be traditional stuff, right? Like Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, if you want to just line them up and try to route them up, it's not going to happen, right? They're too good for you to get damage, but it's the way Andy Reid schemes up plays to get him open, the way he's going to throw a wide receiver screen, the way he's going to have a little gadget for him to catch the ball, get him in space so he can get some yards. So again, I don't think he's going to have some big explosive game, but I can see them doing enough to get him around 65 yards. I won't go touchdown or anything like that, but I think they just, again, when you have big shutdown corners with that, like a Champ Bailey or any of those type of individuals, the way to get them is quick, sneaky things, right? Like the way to, okay, I'm going to motion you in a way where all of a sudden Reed Blankenship is on me, right? Like that's what it's going to be. It's not like he's going to be followed by Kenyon Mitchell. So those are the type of things that I think are going to go down for him. So that's what I'm looking at. Travis Kelce. Let's get to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, 60.5 yards, anytime touchdown, plus 125. Barrett, I'll start with you. What do you think about Travis Kelce?
Travis, 60.5 yards receiving. I say he does. He's going to get that. He's going to get that. But it won't be in the manner of which, it's going to have that much of an effect on the game. It won't be that, like I said, he'll be one of those slop guys also trying to, cover the 10 points, and try to, bring them back in the fourth quarter. They're going to want to. But, I'm telling you, Vic Fangio will have something for him in the middle of the field in which they'll find a way to, I don't know, bracket him, try to, create some havoc with Kelce, in which, they can keep him from being open like that. There's got to be somebody that has a scheme to stop him from being open. In the zone, he finds a place to sit down in that zone and make himself available. If they are running man-to-man, he posts up the smaller safeties if they have safety on them, and he outruns the linebackers. But the good thing is he's not as swift of foot as he was when he was younger. So right now, age is showing a little bit, but he's still that crafty veteran. I think he will get over 60 yards receiving.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think he can hit over 60 and a half receiving yards. But yeah. You look at what he's done this season, and it has not been overwhelming by any means. He's gotten over 60 receiving yards in about like eight regular season games. And then he had one playoff game against the Texans where he had 117. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, I keep saying last week, against the Bills, he only had 19. So if I was Vic Fangio on that defense, I'd be going back and looking at the games where Travis Kelce was not super productive and was held to a very low receiving yard number, and see what that defense did to contain him. Because I think Travis Kelce is probably the scariest, receiving threat for the Eagles defense, because he's the guy who can, pull an audible. If he's not seeing the look he wants and Mahomes isn't seeing the look he wants, we know that Travis Kelce is known to just kind of break away from whatever play was called and find a way to get open. So I don't know what the Eagles' plan is going to be in terms of like coverage on him. We saw Zach Ertz get a lot of action against that Eagles defense, surprisingly, in their win over the Commanders. He didn't score. They were able to contain him in the red zone, but he did pick up several key first downs, and that can't happen with Travis Kelce. So I like over 60 and a half receiving yards. I think if there's any player aside from Mahomes who runs one in to get a touchdown, I could see it being Travis Kelce as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on 60 and a half. Again, Zach Ertz had over 100 last week against the Eagles with the Commanders, and it wasn't garbage time. It was early and often. You know what I mean? Third down, fourth down. Zach Ertz was able to get what he wants, and that's what I think Travis Kelce will be able to do, be able to attack Reed Blankenship. And the one thing, and as a guy who was rooting for the 49ers, the one thing that I felt like lost the 49ers a game that no one talks about is Oren Burks, right? Dre Greenlaw hurts himself running onto the field, right? Oren Burks comes in. You can hear in NFL films Patrick Mahomes go, Greenlaw's out. Greenlaw's out. What happens for the rest of the game? They target Oren Burks for 10 catches, 100 yards.
You weren't supposed to bring that up.
It was immediate. Like, we know the one weakness you have, and we're gonna exploit it. Now, I think Oren Burks is more prepared, right? Because he faced Kansas City last year. He's been in the lineup a little bit, and he's been playing well, and he's prepared coming into this game. It won't be a surprise. So he will play better. But I know more than anybody, there's a ceiling to Oren Burks, right? And so I think he's going to attack him. He's going to attack Reed Blankenship. Again, I do think he'll be much better this year than he was last year in the Super Bowl, but still, he can't cover Travis Kelce. So I think Travis Kelce will be able to have a good game against that, because that's the one weakness of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I
But
won't
don't
even
you
call it a
think Vic
weakness.
Fangio is noticing that and preparing for it? Like I would love to see, Zach Bond on, not that, I mean, the Eagles defense plays a lot of zone, but if it comes down to any one-on-one matchups, like a Zach Bond or even one of the cornerbacks or safeties kind of getting more action on Travis Kelce versus Oren Burks. I know that, they're probably going to, Andy Reid's probably going to try to scheme Travis Kelce and their best receivers like against Burks because of what you're saying. But I just feel like on both sides, to Barrett's point way earlier in the show, like the coordinators are better this year. And I think Vic Fangio is going to be very aware of that they're going to try to target that matchup.
Yeah, but every coordinator ever has tried to take away Travis Kelce and the Pat Mahomes connection and haven't been able to do so, right? And then your talent is your talent. And like you said before,
They did. The
they can
Bills
call
did
all
last week. The
they can
Bills
call
did
all
last week.
yeah, I mean, they were certainly better at it, but in big moments, in the Super Bowl moments, Travis Kelce has been able to do so in the past, and I feel like they'll be able to find that option again. So it's just Travis Kelce can call these audibles, like you said. So even if they line something up, they can call the audibles on the field to make it sure that Oren Burks or Reed Blankenship is on him, so they can exploit that. So again, I don't expect Travis Kelce, regardless of win or loss, to have another performance like last week in a big moment, because history says, and even 3 weeks ago, says that they usually perform in those moments. Let's get to some of the fun props. All right. We talked about Travis Kelce. Well, before we get to the fun props, actually, any defensive props that y'all like? To record a sack, Nolan Smith plus 108, Jalen Carter plus 118, Chris Jones plus 140. To record an interception, CJ Gize plus 700, Deshaun 13-1, Kenyon 12-1. Any defensive props that y'all like in this game?
I do like Nolan Smith, plus 108 for the sack. I would actually see it. I want to know, if you bumped it up for 2 sacks, he is really coming out of his shell, and he has really found some pass rushing moves to also go with the speed that he has, and the athleticism that he has. It doesn't matter if it's a mobile quarterback. You see how he hunted down the Commanders quarterback, and Daniels was like playing out of his mind. He found a way, sacked him twice. And I think that, this is one time and one opportunity that the speed rush will help him, especially with Patrick Mahomes, because he can't outrun. He's 10 times faster than Patrick Mahomes. Even with his elusiveness, he won't be able to outrun him. So I would venture, I would go 2 sacks. So I don't know what it is. So it's plus 500. I would go with that. I bet big money on that. Nolan Smith. 2 sacks.
At 2 sacks, I got to go with Jalen Carter. So I think a blueprint for this Eagles defense against Mahomes and the Chiefs offense is you look back to the 2020 Super Bowl when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat them. And a big reason for holding the Chiefs to that low score was because they pressured him 29 times. It was a Super Bowl record. I'm not saying that this Eagles defensive front is going to get 29 pressures, but Jalen Carter is certainly on pace, at least throughout the postseason, to have a monster game against Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to get a ton of pressure on Mahomes, and he's going to have to in order to disrupt that offense. So I like him getting at least 1 sack of Mahomes.
That's a key matchup. Trey Smith, probably their best guard against Carter. Also, you can kiss the baby. He gonna beat up on Trey Smith so bad just because everybody's trying to say that he's gonna be the alleviator. He's gonna be the stopper because Juwan Taylor, their tackle, is horrible. He jumps off sides every time trying to get off the ball, and they're gonna call it because he's gonna be so scared of getting off the ball. I wish there was a prop that we can have, and I know there is, on how many false starts Juwan Taylor has in this game. And I would go with the over. I would bet the over. I promise you I bet the over. just from the speed rush of Nolan Smith and him getting out of there, he will have over two false starts, maybe even 3 false starts. So I hope they have a prop to that, and I would go with that prop.
I'm gonna go Jalen Carter getting a sack. Also, I'm also gonna go with Chris Jones to get a sack. Again, the two best D tackles in the game. Just unbelievable in what they done. And again, Chris Jones. I know y'all talked about Jalen Carter, so I'll talk about Chris Jones for a second. Chris Jones is unbelievable, right? Like he's a future Hall of Famer. He's the best D tackle in the game. Jalen Carter is after him, but Chris Jones has been a absolute disruptor for everybody. And I can see a situation where again, Jalen Hurts will play well, but Jalen Hurts will have the tendency to hold the ball a little bit. And that's where Chris Jones comes into play. He's their main guy. He's going to be able to get through in the middle, and he's going to be able to dominate through the middle. He's not going to have to go against Mailata. Again, the inside has been great, but if he's over he's over those guards, the right guard, left guard, he's able to get something because he's that good. So again, I think both quarterbacks get sacked in this game. So I think Jalen Carter and Chris Jones obviously are going to be the two that are most likely to get it done. All right, when we come back, we'll get to the fun props. All right, we'll get to all the fun props, Gatorade, National Anthem, Kendrick Lamar, and we'll get to our final predictions. Who we think is going to win the game, you already know what those two are going to say. But we'll get to who's going to win the game, what score we have, and who we think is going to win the MVP. All right, that's coming up on the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread. Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Let's get to the random props that everybody bets on. That I can't really do because it's too random for me, but we'll see what y'all think about this. Barrett, Devin, what are y'all? Y'all heads or tails people? I was always taught that tails never fail. So I always go tails. Again, it's minus 102. It's the same for either way, but I tails never fails, although it fails all the time. But that's just what I was taught. So I always go tails. What do y'all go with in the coin flip?
I always go with tails too, just because, like, I don't know. I'm a lefty. I can't even, this is not going to make sense when I say it out loud, but I'm a lefty and I feel like tails just always felt like the lesser, like, used of the two between heads and tails. So I always go with the, like, more unpopular choice, I guess. I don't know.
You one of those people, them lefties?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Am I wrong though? Like, does tails not equate to, like, left-handed and then heads is right-handed?
I've never heard.
Am I crazy?
No,
saying
I
that?
was always tails also.
Yeah.
Always
okay.
tails.
Barry, you tails also?
I'm a devout tail guy. I love asses. Tails.
Of course. Let's go to Gatorade color. Yeah, I'm gonna move on. Let's go to Gatorade color. What Gatorade color? Orange plus 250, blue plus 350, yellow plus 4, red 5, purple 7, clear water 9. Barrett, what color is it? And what color was it for your Super Bowl?
I don't even remember, bro. I don't even remember. I didn't know it was a thing till I got grown and retired from the NFL. See, I wasn't grown when I was in the NFL. I was still a kid playing a kid's game. But when I got grown, that's when I finally realized, that they bet on the Gatorade color. And I would go with the I would actually go with the it's a well, they don't have it. Well, they don't have it up there. But it's the clear, not the clear, but the what do you call it? The frost, like white.
Well, that counts as clear.
Yeah,
That's 9-1.
Frost, like the white color.
Yeah. That's what I would go with. But
I don't know.
Since that, I'm gonna go with the purple stuff. The purple.
It was purple last year, for what it's worth.
Oh, it was?
It was
okay.
purple.
Well, let me change it around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yellow, green.
According to the New York Times, it's been purple the last 2 Super Bowls. So the Chiefs must opt for purple Gatorade.
Okay. What did the Eagles opt for? What was the Eagles in 2017?
So I'm going to go with yellow, which is my personal favorite. I didn't realize that the lemon lime take was like a hot take until my adult life. I grew up, love it. Like, lemon lime still to this day is my favorite Gatorade flavor. And that is what the Eagles used in 2018. So I'm going to go with yellow Gatorade because I think that they're going to have yellow And if the Eagles win, obviously they're going to be the ones throwing the Gatorade. So that one hasn't been a Gatorade color since 2018 when the Eagles won.
Oh,
I'm a lemon
you
lime
just
also.
turned me. I'm going with it.
I'm lemon lime also. I don't know why that's a hot take. Actually, my favorite Gatorade, which is I guess it's limited edition because I can't find it right now, is lemonade. Have you ever had lemonade Gatorade?
No,
No.
I've actually never seen that. So that must be some limited edition.
I guess it was in a particular season, but again, I reached for a lemon lime, put a bunch, and realized it was lemonade. And when I tell you, woof. So if you ever get to a lemonade Gatorade, grab that thing. Trust me. Let's go to the national anthem. John Batiste. I actually don't know who that is, but salute to John Batiste is singing the national anthem, and it is over under 120 and a half, a little over 2 minutes. What are you taking, the under or over, Devin Caney?
So I love that every person I've talked to about this is like, yeah, I'm not really entirely sure who John Batiste is. So I don't know his singing style, but I'm going to guess like normally they get a pretty big and like good vocalist to sing the national anthem. So I'm going to go over just because in a moment like that, I feel like the artist usually leans into the, dramatics and like holding those notes for a little longer than is necessary. So I'm going to go over.
Okay. I'm gonna go with over also because I'm reading up on Jonathan Michael Batiste. He's an American musician, composer, and TV personality who blends classical, jazz, R&B, and pop into unique style. So I'm gonna say he gonna definitely sing it like it's his last song. So I'm saying over too. I'm going with the over.
Yeah, I'm going with the over because I just Google imaged him and I see a guitar in his hand. So
Right.
he tries to do that whole jazzy guitar, maybe even play the guitar while he's doing it. Like he's
Right.
definitely gonna go over because he's gonna add a whole lot of sauce to it. So I'm gonna go over with that take with y'all. Let's go to Kendrick Lamar halftime. Y'all saw the Grammys. He had them saying A minor at the Grammys. Right. And again, he didn't say it,
Yeah,
but they
thought he
played it on his
wouldn't.
walk
You
of
thought
fame.
he wouldn't last week, Sean. Like he's definitely gonna say A minor.
I still don't. I'm still saying he doesn't. I still say the corporate entities won't allow him to say it. Now, it's possible that he just puts the mic out to the crowd and goes, "You say it for me." But
Yep.
I feel like the corporate is going to be like, "Don't you say those type of words." Y'all still think he's going to do it in full with the words?
No, I don't. I don't. Just like you said, the higher ups were like, we're giving you an opportunity now. Don't mess this thing up. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, all right, you've already crushed this man's career now. You know what I'm saying? Like Drake is, he's trying to, reach himself out of this hole in this pit that Kendrick put him in. He's still, he's still that dude, but still, hey, Kendrick kind of killed him, so he's trying to resurrect himself. So I don't think he says it. I think that he holds it and says, "Hey, I want a couple more of these type of events." So I'm gonna say, yeah, he's not gonna say it. He might have a crowd say it, like you said.
That's true. Okay, so I could see that happening where he sets it up and then stops singing. The crowd goes. I think he sings it because it's just such an iconic part of that song. I just think like it's one of the most popular songs of the year. Everyone knows the line. It's not anything anyone's not heard before. So I think he sings it. I don't know if he opens with it. I don't think he opens with Not Like Us. I think I said this last week. My hot take is he opens with DNA.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, DNA plus 500. That's what you going with. I like that. I'm going with Squabble Up. I think he starts Squabble Up. He starts with a fight song at plus 430. DNA plus 500. Barrett, is there a song that you think he starts with? Do you think he starts with Not Like Us?
I think he starts. I think that's the grand finale. That's the grand finale.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be his last song.
Okay.
But hey, I think he starts with Squabble Up, mix a little DNA in it, and then he just drops Mike, with Not Like Us.
Okay, I can see that. All right, let me ask y'all this before we get to our final predictions to the game. Legacy. Who needs this game most for the legacy? This is legacy makers, right? Like if you lose this game, is going to be questions about you, regardless of what you've done in the past. There's all of a sudden questions. If you win, you may get a statue outside of the stadium, right? You're never going to have to eat in that city. You're never going to have to eat in that city again. Whether or not you get into the Hall of Fame could be whether or not you win this Super Bowl. Pick the person, whether it's Nick Sirianni, Jalen, Saquon, or Pat Mahomes, because he's chasing a GOAT. Who do y'all think needs this the most for their legacy? Barrett, I'll start with you.
It's got to be Jalen. I mean, this game is going to be a defining moment in his career. It's all going to be a defining moment in Nick Sirianni's career. This will take him up over the top. This will put him up there with not necessarily elite, but take his name out the conversation of quarterbacks that, everybody's saying they're great, but they're not really great. Now you have to add him with the great conversations. And he gets so much that, people try to grind him all the time, but you got to be able to go out there and perform, and he does that. They want him to throw over 300 yards. He's not going to do that. They don't ask him to do that. And he runs the offense the way he's supposed to run it. He wins. So I'm going to say this will solidify him. He needs it the most to get his name out of everybody's mouth about how good he is or anything else. It will no longer be how good he is. He will already be good. Now the conversation is, all right, we're going to keep him up there with the elite instead of taking him out of that whole bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's any question as to, whose legacy is going to be, I don't want to say on the line, but most affected by the outcome of this game. It's Patrick Mahomes, going for a three-peat, that's history. And it's same thing can be said for Andy Reid and the whole Chiefs organization. But they've already established their legacy. Like, we know that the Chiefs are great. We know that they're a dynasty. We know that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. Like, that's already established, and that will remain established no matter what the outcome of this game is, in my opinion. It's not like one loss is going to change minds on Mahomes and the greatness of the Chiefs. I think this is a massive legacy game for Jalen Hurts and even Nick Sirianni. But can Jalen Hurts go back to the big dance, and can he finally get it done? Because if not, his legacy is, he's the quarterback who almost got him there. He's the quarterback who brought him to the Super Bowl multiple times, but couldn't get that win. Coming up short once again. So I think it's massive for his legacy. If he gets a win, maybe finally he stops getting disrespected and stops the doubters. I doubt that will even happen when it comes to Jalen Hurts, but I think a lot is on the line for Hurts in this Super Bowl matchup, way more so than Mahomes or anyone on the Chiefs.
Yeah, we're all on the same boat. It's more than again, regardless of what happens in this game, you're going to believe Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley, right? Like, you're going to believe that he's that dude. Nick Sirianni, I think regardless of whether or not he wins the Super Bowl, he could be fired in 3 years, or he can still be there in 3 years. Who knows? Because Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl and he was fired. But either way, I think he's solidified in the organization. They like him, and he's going to be just fine. Jalen Hurts, again, Donovan McNabb, if he wins the Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer. He didn't win a Super Bowl, so he's not a Hall of Famer. I think it's that simple for Donovan McNabb, right? Like, as well as played 4 NFC championships, went to 1 Super Bowl, Pro Bowls, and all that other stuff. If he has a Super Bowl in his resume, Eli Manning, Hall of Fame. But he doesn't have one, so he's not making a Hall of Fame. So that's what you're looking at with Jalen Hurts. It'd just be, you're a pretty good quarterback that won a lot, but you didn't win the big one, and you're not going to be a Hall of Famer. So if he wins,
you never hear about Jim Kelly.
Yeah. Then you're on a Hall of Fame track. Yeah, potentially Jim Kelly. But that was 4. Jeez. Buffalo, 4 Super Bowls. Hey, doggy.
Sorry, my dog wanted to make an appearance.
We love it. Make an appearance. All right, we got 2 minutes. Quick, Dev. Super Bowl prediction, score.
Well, we love underdogs here, don't we, Magic? So I'm going to go with Eagles, obviously covering, 1.5 points, not a super large spread. For my anytime touchdown scores, I like Saquon Barkley. I like Jalen Hurts, maybe even Dallas Goedert. Chiefs side, Mahomes and Kelsey. I think the Eagles win 34-24.
Okay, solid dub. Barrett, what do you think?
I'm still going to go with the Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns. I think that's a good bet. I'm going with Dallas Goedert yards. And, of course, I'm going with the Eagles with the win. I know this is a weird score, but, Super Bowls have been weirder. 32-26, Birds bring home that Tiffany Trophy, Super Bowl.
Okay.
They get a ring, baby.
Let's go to our producer, Kenny Anderson. Kenny, you've been against the Eagles all year. What do you think? What score do you have?
I'm going to go Chiefs 24, Eagles 23. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. It's a unique opportunity as sports fans to especially if you're neutral. I know Barrett and Devin have an allegiance. I do not. As a neutral guy, I'm going to be on the side of history. And if the Eagles win, then this is huge for Hurts and Sirianni and their legacy to knock off the three-peat.
Oh, so you got low scoring, huh? You don't think this? You think this is gonna be a defensive matchup?
Yeah, I think both defenses are awesome. So yeah, I think this will be a tight game, and I think Kansas City prevails in those tight games a lot of the time. So I'm going with Kansas City.
We shouldn't let Kenny on this segment. We should have him on the last segment so we can talk about something other than that. I knew you were gonna rain on my parade, man.
That's not a very good way to end for us.
Well, let me give mine. I could change the minute before the Super Bowl. That's how close I think this Super Bowl is going to be. I'm similar to Kenny in regards to it being a 1.2 point game. As of right now, I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win 27-25. I think it's going to be a funky score. I think Jake Elliott does something because he's been missing field goals and missing points the entire playoffs. That's a little funky. That puts the Eagles in a funky situation, and the Kansas City Chiefs end up capitalizing on it. So that's 2 versus 2. 2 Kansas City Chiefs, 2 Philadelphia Eagles, and the group chat will be lit with a lot of people gloating and bragging. A lot of people gloating and bragging one way or the other. This has been the Sunday Spread, a terrific season coming to a close.
Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Next week for you. Listen, of course, they got to go Birds in there. Devin Caney, Sean Bell, Barrett Brook. Enjoy the big game.